Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast. Wait, who's that?
We have 4 people today.
Yes, we've got
Who's this
very,
internet?
very, very close to the Hollywood Squares original,
Yeah.
look. But our frequent guest, our good close friend Jeff McCarty, is with us to
Hey,
talk
Jeff.
about
Hello,
movies in
everybody.
general. Hey, Jeff, good to see you, man.
That opening. Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a brand new opening from Burke. He's got a lot of great shots of Hollywood and of Los Angeles.
There's a
and-
kaleidoscope behind, like I can see it going out
Exactly.
the whole thing.
The,
You guys are in the
Cinemondo
zone.
spiral. It's the vortex.
Yeah. Well, Jeff is a film preservationist with Paramount, and he has been working on a lot of great projects that he kind of fills us in on time to time. So we can start with that. Like, what are some of the major films that you've been working on in the last 6 months or so?
Yeah, I was on a year ago, and actually, I think I'm still working on some of those films from a year ago.
Takes a while, huh?
Yeah, no, it does. Like the Godfather 1 and 2, I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. I know people are like, "Oh, you're restoring the Godfather." It's been restored, but yeah, this is a brand new restoration. We replaced a lot of the bad dupe material that was in the film with the original negative trims. Went through all these boxes and stuff. So yeah, we're releasing actually in about 2 months brand new restorations of both those films.
Wow.
Do you
Yeah.
have to get do you have Francis Ford Coppola's input, and does he take a look at it?
We screened it. We sent it to him. That was one real drag about COVID. I would have been able to actually screen in person to him,
Right.
but we sent it up to he lives up north back in May, and he watched all our initial restoration work and gave us some notes. Some things had changed. He made one editorial change in Godfather Part 2. At the end of the scene, I don't want to spoil it. I'm sure you've all seen Godfather 2.
Don't tell us what happens in the movie.
This movie is 500 years old.
Yeah, he basically trimmed out three seconds of one shot. He just thought it lasted on screen a little too long.
Wow.
So we had to change all the stuff. And
3
Do you ever-
seconds is
do you
a
ever argue?
lifetime.
Yeah, do you argue with him? Like, no, don't do that.
no.
No, we don't argue with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, we don't
Imagine pushing back on that guy.
But 3 seconds sounds like a short amount of time. But 3 seconds in a film is a long time. That's
It really it can be. I mean, there's so many like micro decisions that go into editing, and they're all purposeful. I mean, and they're rhythmic, and they're emotional, and there's reasons to stay or not cut, and it's very subtle. No one would notice it. If you watch it right now, you would not notice it, but you might feel it on a subconscious level.
Right.
But like with what I do, sometimes it's just the frame. Can you do take out 2 frames or add 2 frames? Or the other day we went from 5 frames. I think it ended up 18 frames. And it's
Right.
There's a huge difference.
It is
Certain
absolutely.
things.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like the amount of space evenly between songs on an album. It's
Yeah.
all purposeful.
Right. So you're still working on the 2 Godfathers.
Yeah, the
What
two
else-
Godfathers. Let's see. Once Upon a Time in the West. Doing
nice.
a new restoration of that. One of my childhood favorites, the 1976 King Kong.
Oh yeah.
Doing a brand new restoration of that. Possibly even the extended version. There was a 4-hour version of that movie.
Yeah.
That was
What? Oh my God.
Wow.
I know. I love that film. I argue about it all the time with my colleagues who all think it's ridiculous, but it has like this incredible John Barry score.
Oh yeah.
Is John Gillerman still alive, the director?
No. Well, I don't think he's not. I'm just beginning that project, so I've not even looked into whether he's alive or not. At some point, would bring him in if he was alive to look at it. I don't think he is.
Okay.
Look at that. I know the cinematographer is not.
So what is what is it you physically do and when you're doing film restoration? A lot of people watching this now haven't heard some of your podcasts. What goes into that exactly?
Well, the first thing is to research and find the best elements, the earliest generation elements that exist of the film. And hopefully that would be the original negative. And if the original negative is there, a lot of times the original negative has been cut down over time. There's decomposition, if it's old nitrate material. So we try and find the best secondary sources. So we just patch the whole film based on its original editorial continuity with the best material. And then we go through it, we digitize all that, we scan all that material, clean it all up, color correct it, and basically do the same kind of process, not color correction stuff, but to the audio, find the best audio sources, patch it together, digitize it, review it, show it to the filmmakers if they're still alive. If they're not, then we just consult with historians. For instance, we're doing a 1917 Mary Pickford film called Stella Maris. So we're working with the Pickford Foundation.
Wow.
Elena Ferguson over there is an expert in Mary Pickford. So I bring her in. We talk about like the tints of the film and everything like that, just to make sure it's as historically accurate as possible. It's never an exact science unless you have like perfect documentation from 1917, which we do not.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to restore film and you just didn't find material and just, this is a lost cause, or do you always find it? Oh yeah, that's sad.
Absolutely. It's very sad. Yeah. Or like there's a few reels missing.
Right.
There's a Roy Rogers film I was doing called The Gay Ranchero, which was originally shot in true color, and the color elements don't survive. So we had to preserve it in black and white. A lot of stuff like that happens.
Oh, okay.
The film the Clara Bow 1927 film. We're having Ben Burt, the sound designer of Star Wars. He arranged from old library music a new score for the film.
Oh,
nice.
That's cool. Premiering also at some point.
Cool.
That's where she got her name. Her
Yes, the It Girl.
The It Girl.
Yeah.
That's
cool. One thing I want to explain, I think a lot of maybe our listeners might not know what it means when you say you have to digitize the film. It's tell me if I'm right or wrong. It basically is like turning every frame into a really high resolution JPEG or something, or a TIFF or whatever.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's doing. Yeah.
And then you can go through each one of those frames and sometimes just use something like Photoshop and get rid of dust and crap and garbage and hairs and whatnot.
That's exactly what it is. Maybe different words for the programs, but I think that explains it very well. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Film on a scanner. People scan, old photographs at home. It's the same process, just very high tech, and a reel of film that goes frame by frame. And absolutely does that, digitizes it.
Wow. And
so then you're not actually working with the physical plastic film that you shine a light through that most people are familiar with when they think about films.
Yeah.
They still think about films coming on reels sometimes that you put into a projector.
Right.
Yeah, which is still, people are still projecting 35, still making it for, certain releases. We'll talk about that in a bit.
and any other films? I think there was one other one that you're working on.
I'm working on like 50 films right now. So just run down some that come through my consciousness.
I'm thinking of Reds.
Oh yes, we finished Reds. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of Reds because we finished it. I did a full restoration of Reds this year, which is one of my favorite films. I was really happy to go through. There was some really bad dupes in that as well. Whereas the editor Dee Dee Allen at the time, she would resize shots that she thought weren't composed correctly. And her decisions were right, but to do that back in 1981, you have to optically make a new piece of negative and zoom in.
And your resolution goes down.
Yeah,
terribly. Really grainy, really stood out. There's that climactic scene at the train station, which is so poignant. And there was one shot where it just always took me out of the film. I went through again all the original negative trim boxes. There was hundreds of them. Warren Beatty's famous for doing 40 takes of every shot. And I had all D.D. Allen's code books. I was going through matching boxes, numbers, everything.
Wow.
I found all of those shots and we scanned them all, put them all back in, and the film is like seamless now.
Nice.
Wow.
How do you decide on the film that is lucky enough to get restored?
Well, there's two qualifiers. There was an inventory that was done 20 years ago of the entire Paramount library. So everything that was categorized, things that are like most at risk. Things that were single element sources. Maybe there was only one film element that existed. Things that were decomposing, had vinegar syndrome. And then so there's that based on an at-risk categorization. And then secondly is market-driven. So Reds, it was the 40th anniversary last year of its release. So there was a market-driven request to re-release it on Blu-ray.
Oh, cool. All right.
That's why we did the restoration of it. Warren Beatty come in July, and he we watched and showed it to him. He loved it.
Nice.
We used an approved print by Vittorio Storaro, who's the cinematographer.
Wow.
Got the original color palette back to what it was supposed to be. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's really cool.
It feels very fulfilling, I would think, as a film fan, to be able to take these movies, some we all heard of, some we haven't heard, and sort of bringing them back from the dead, or bringing them, showing them to glory.
It's the perfect job for me. I've grown up just like you guys, practically worshiping movies and just saving them, making them available, making them look correct.
Yeah.
Films. It's very important to me.
And just having the respect of being able to, you can't just get some guy who's there for the paycheck to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
You got to get somebody who really really respects the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because how I'm basically, me and my colleagues, how we're, encoding this stuff is how it's going to be seen from here on out for the most part, unless you have an old print that you found out of the vaults and you can only play those prints so many times before they start falling apart.
Yeah.
We got to make sure it looks right because, all the time and effort that goes into new productions, tweaking, the color design and everything else, to just be so willy-nilly about it and not give it the full attention is a tragedy.
Yeah.
For me, it is.
That's great.
It is. It totally is. For movies are my church. They're my religion, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like that is as important to me as anything in life. It just is. Some people think that's nuts, but I just feel like this stuff matters. It defines certain points in my life. It defines like some of my actual thinking and context. I learned a lot from movies. How to be a person.
It's human history.
Yeah.
It's like
it really is.
human history.
No, absolutely. You learn about, not just other cultures, but you sympathize with other people. I used to call the New Beverly my church in the 90s.
That's what I call the cinema.
Church
The dome. It's like,
all those
speaking of theaters.
Yeah, speaking of theaters, obviously since, the pandemic hit a few years ago, what we remembered as movie going was going to our favorite theater, getting our seats, sitting down and watching a big screen, with the great sound and watching it with a group of other people, like-minded fans, and getting that, that communal experience of watching a movie. It always can make the movie scarier, can make it funnier, can be more dramatic because they're all there doing it.
And you're with an audience, you're just caught up in the same emotions at the same time.
It's great. Some of my best memories are being in full houses. Like the first time I saw Halloween, everybody was jumping and laughing and scared. It was fantastic, and we've lost that for the most part. Some movies have been released to theaters and recently Licorice Pizza had a thing going on in Westwood for a while. And that was that kind of experience, but it's kind of been gone. I guess the question is it gone forever? Is it coming back in a different way? Is it, will it come back just like the way it was? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it will come back the way it was exactly. I remember back, the first time I was on the podcast was the end of 2019. We were doing like our best of movies of the year. And back then I saw everything because I would go see everything in the theaters.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been harder for me. I'm not quite as excited about new cinema at times as I used to be. I still am, of course, because I love all cinema. But because the theater experience was just hit so hard, I used to go and I wanted to experience these new films properly in the theater.
Yeah.
Not that of course, I watch films at home and I enjoy them very much at home, and nothing against doing that, but. It did take a hit even in my own cinema appreciation, I feel, in the last 2 years, but I don't see it going away, and there has been some hope for that. The 2021 box office was, understandably twice the profit of the 2020, half the profit of 2019 though.
Right.
But there were two films at the end of the year that I saw that gave me a lot of hope that cinema is not going away. And one was Licorice Pizza. I saw the opening week. I think it was right after Thanksgiving. Was that opening weekend? I don't remember for Licorice Pizza.
You saw it before me, yeah.
Yeah. I saw a couple days before you. I know we had slightly different takes on it, but I think part of my love of that film was seeing it in a packed house was my first time since the pandemic in a packed house in a big theater in 70 millimeter in Westwood.
Nice.
The whole ritual going there and walking up to it and being in the lobby, and you can feel the excitement and you can see everyone stoned and ready to watch it. and going in there, and even our seats were not that perfect. They were kind of off to the side. We were watching
Right.
on an angle, but that was part of like going to see a film on opening night. It's not always like you don't always get the perfect seating experience, but you're still there, and is something about the energy of an entire crowd, whether it's vocal or not even vocal. There's a shared dreaming going on. And I felt so alive, and I was watching that again, just alive or I felt the cinema was alive again in a way I had not experienced it in 2 years. And so that was remarkable. And then also a month later, I took my daughter to see the new Spider-Man movie, and it was a packed house opening night in Burbank. My daughter, she gets really excited during these Marvel films. She's like screaming and just like, oh my God, and she's so excited. And so was the entire theater. It was just I felt very happy. Like, wow, this is not, people still crave this kind of experience.
I think people are hungry for it, for that, group thing, that what you were saying, that shared dream idea, and communing, even if you're not like personally talking to these people or socializing with them, just being together with other human beings, as long as they're not jackasses,
as long as they're
that's the problem.
Crinkling hard candy wrappers. Like I always get that person that's crinkling the hard candy, like, are you gonna
or on their phone. But there is sort of, I think maybe now, people, they're not taking, movie theaters for granted anymore. They actually, going to a movie theater, it's like now it's this big special thing where I was like, oh, another movie, another theater, whatever. But now it's, someone going to a theater, like you've gone to 2 movies in the theater. I haven't been to one since it started. And that's what I did all
I haven't
the time.
either.
And so it's really been heartbreaking. But, part of that is because I will only go to the Arclight in Hollywood. And now that that's not open, it's just been I mean, when that closed, I feel like someone died. I still am feeling that weird grieving thing, even though I think it's going to reopen soon eventually because they bought like an alcohol license for the Dome, and that's promising. And it was a really profitable theater, but it's like that every time I would branch off from the Arclight in Hollywood, I would hate the experience. It was either rude people, the management wouldn't do anything about it, the theater was dirty, or just so that the screening wasn't great. But every time I go to the Hollywood Arclight, I loved it. It was always like just so grand, and they had that great lobby, and you could have dinner there, and that was really special. And now I feel like it's just, there's a big hole in my movie going, which is, first of all, no theaters and no Arclight. So I've been like double whammy of what I love the most.
We missed the one here in Pasadena too. It's like the Arclight that's just gone.
We went there. That was one of our last things we did. We had a cinema field trip to the Pasadena Arclight to see The Invisible Man. And that was literally, I remember that was like March 8th. And we're like, should we do this? Shouldn't we do this?
It's just getting scary.
We kind of went, and I think that night or the next day or something, and that's when the shutdown sort of happened, or maybe that weekend.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like
pretty quick after that.
Yeah. And I've only seen
kind of questioning whether we should go. And before that, we took a field trip and saw Midsummer. And so those were like the things.
And there was an earthquake during it, and the film shut down. It's like we were not having our last movie going experience. We're not good. So when you went to the theater, because I mean I haven't been. When you went to the theater, does it feel like safe? Are people all wearing masks, or are people jackasses like Jim Kirk said?
I'll go into that. So we started going because I'm such a theater guy. Back in May was the first one I went to. We took my daughter to see Cruella. Film I very much enjoyed. Part of it was also being in the theater again. It was just so much fun, and I feel like I can just really, really focus on the movie in a way I can't at home, no matter how hard it is. As cozy as it is, sitting with my fiance on the couch watching, Criterion Channel, which we do all the time. I mean, I love doing that, but something about being in the theater where I feel like I'm really just one with the film. And
sure, of course.
It's a dedicated chair that you're sitting in. It's like, you're aimed at the screen, and
there's nothing else
aimed at you.
Yeah.
Well, a few things about the theater. So I do find most people are pretty cool about it. Most people are wearing their masks inside. You don't true. You don't have to wear your mask when you're eating popcorn. That's the whole thing. So that's the, So But what you can do, and I have done, obviously those 2 screens I talked about were packed. So this, but
that worries me. So are there any spaces between seats or?
Well, not at Spider-Man and Licorice Pizza.
Yeah,
that was like person to person. My fiance, she's very nervous about COVID. I mean, we all are, but she's nervous a bit in Licorice Pizza. But I think just the experience did override the nervousness of it, and that was, of course, before the Omicron became so contagious.
Yeah.
Spider-Man we saw on December 18th, and I was nervous about it because it was already well in the news everywhere. And then 2 days later, everyone I knew had COVID. I didn't get it.
Oh, God.
At this point, but
at this point,
at some point. But for the most part, what you can do, I found, if you go to most movies, like on a Tuesday afternoon or a Thursday afternoon, nobody in there. I mean,
see, that's
really, like 2 people maybe. I went to see West Side Story last night with my daughter right after school at 4:45 at the La Quinata Theater. There was 4 other people in there.
See, that's great to me, but also heartbreaking because I'm like, how are theaters survive? Like, it makes me ache to hear theaters struggling because I feel like it's so hard anyway to make money at the theater. They just make it in concession anyway, you know? And it's like, and we say like, oh, all these movies making money. Well, it's still not the theater really making the money. So it just makes there's so much sadness. I want it to be good.
It's true. I think what you hit on earlier, Kathy, is they are going to. It's going to be more of a special experience, and I think the era of the multiplexes is, except for unless the Marvel films and Pixar films can keep them going, are probably continue to dwindle. I think unfortunately, I think unfortunately, the Laemmle chain and those theaters are probably not going to make it. I just heard the Laemmle Playhouse in Pasadena is going to be closing.
Oh gosh, it just kills me to hear this.
Yeah, I've seen many films there. We just saw last night in Soho there.
Oh yeah. You were just going out. Look at you. Well, so you're just acting like I'm a crowd. Who cares? I'm going.
Trust me, I do care. I do care. Most times when I'll look, because of Fandango on your phone and all that, you can actually see how many people have bought tickets before the movie.
That's true. That's interesting.
So
that's a good
that kind of like makes it a little more, like, okay, if it's crowded, just don't go.
That's a really good point.
I made an exception for Spider-Man Licorice Pizza, and we saw an old print of Foxes. Which is my fiance, she grew up in the Valley. She loves the movie Foxes. She really connects to it. So I took her to see. And it was actually a faded 35 millimeter print. It was pink.
Oh,
did that drive you crazy? You're like,
fix this. Well, no, actually, because I remember back in the 90s, I would see pink prints all the time. Now, I don't recommend pink print. I don't think it's the way to watch it.
Don't see a pink print, people. Stay away from the pink print.
Yeah, well, but maybe I'm such a weirdo, but for Foxes, it was okay for me. I don't know, because the whole film feels like a nostalgic faded photograph.
That's
like,
right.
Sure, it's like a drive-through experience or something.
Kind of, yeah. Like I kind of liked it in a way. I'm not saying that's the way I would tell everyone to go see Foxes.
Don't go see Foxes.
But that's the imperfection of seeing like a living print, a print that's traveled. This print was from 1980, that's so true. Like, and just knowing that people 40 years ago had laid eyes on this print. It has the wear and tear of traveling around the world and the country. And it's gathered miles, and it's like a face almost that's been weathered with.
That is cool.
Yeah. And Jeff, I saw Licorice Pizza, and that's a 70 millimeter print, and it's just a different experience watching that than watching a digital film on the big screen.
I didn't realize it was actual film. That makes it
film.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It just looks different, and it felt to me like this film was. I know that's what he was going for. It looked a little shaky. It looked like it kind of was filmed in the 70s. It sort of had. That's what he was going for. So that was really like a positive.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh, go ahead, Bert.
Oh, I was just going to say, I sometimes use programs to make film look like that, to look old. And one of the things that's interesting maybe to some of our listeners is like when we were talking about pink prints and why it happens is there's certain pigments in films that fade before other pigments, the colors in the film. Mm-hmm. And the ones that don't fade as fast are the ones that, in older films, you're seeing the film, made of just the colors that didn't fade.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, it's
so
kind of
the
like if you
red,
see a poster in the window and it's all sun faded, and some colors stay and some
but
don't.
but only the red colors stay, or
Yeah.
the black or
blue,
whatever. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
you're explaining complicated things very well today, Burke, which I like. I mean, it's good because it's making it digestible for people to understand what's actually happening.
Mhm.
Well, we all know this stuff because we're
Yeah.
like these savvy insider, people.
Yes, I knew all about pink prints.
Yeah.
The pink print. That's gonna be the name of this episode, by the way.
Yeah.
The pink print.
The pink print. What is the pink print?
Yes.
Yeah, but
So
but
that's encouraging, Jeff. I mean, you think that there's a positive. I mean, I feel that way too. I think people, but I also believe with Kathy saying that we're just not going to go see all the movies at the multiplex. It's going to be that special film that we'll pay $15-$20 to see because it makes sense. Years ago you could spend $4 or $5 to see a movie and you'd see lots of, like in Atlanta had this pass where you could go see almost every movie you wanted to. It was included in the price of this yearly pass.
Yeah.
Well, those are long gone.
Well, they had that for a second, but it just wasn't sustainable.
Right.
Honestly, before the
Movie
pandemic, I was kind of heading that way anyway. I was kind of, we talk about it now. It's like we missed the movies, but before the pandemic, I was not going to the theater as much, But when I did, I went to the Arclight.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. Only the Arc. That's why we need the Arclight more than ever because
That's
it's that special experience. And the reason I wasn't going is because of people.
Yeah.
I feel like people were getting really rude. They would bring their kids and not make it just didn't matter because everyone's used to sitting at home watching a movie. They thought they didn't have to do that at theaters or something. So I started like having to pick and choose and see which movie might have a good audience, which so it wouldn't have a lot of kids. So I'd only see movies that maybe weren't good for kids, or I go at a time that kids wouldn't be there, or just trying, like you were saying, picking odd times that weren't super crowded, like picking like a weird time in the middle of the day. It was all about avoiding the people because people are so rude at movies. And now I feel like it's going to be almost worse because people have gotten used to sitting at home.
Yeah,
I hope it
people
means
are
more
acting on
reverence.
airplanes now.
Well, I hope what I hope it happens is more theaters take the model that the Arclight does, that it's assigned seating, that if you start if you're unruly, there'll be an usher that'll come down that will talk to you or ask you to leave. I mean, that's what has to happen. The theater, I'd pay an extra $5 a ticket if I knew that was going to happen. If they cared, about like, let's keep things. I've been so many movies where they're just rude people all around me, and it just kills me. I just go, I'm ready to leave and walk out and get my money back. A waste of time.
That's weird because when I'm watching a movie, I must be because I hear this all the time from people, talking about people. But I'm oblivious to most of it. I'm not bothered.
That's good.
That's good. I can't avoid a phone, a light on in the theater.
I'll see it, I'll recognize it, and I'll just ignore it somehow.
Oh God, I wish I could.
I try, but
skill
I
to
just
develop.
It feels like a personal insult to me if someone on their damn phone. It just makes me mad.
Well,
I need to be relaxed.
It's annoying.
Well, I have
money to see this stuff, and you go in. And
sometimes
there's a movie you're excited about, and then you have someone who's like dicking around, and you're like, oh my God.
Well, that's we'll get off this, but that's the negative being the assigned seat. It's like I get to the assigned seat, I'm right next to somebody that's just chomping away on popcorn constantly, or talking during the trailers. Shut up during the trailers. Like, please.
I give them a pass on the trailers.
No, I don't.
They continue.
So okay, where's that seat where nobody is going to be at? So I'll go to that Tuesday morning 10:30, sit in the corner, and somehow somebody sits right next to me still.
Always. The theater could be empty.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's a whole theater here. Give me some space. Anyway, so that's my thing.
Our love-hate relationship with movie theaters.
Sorry.
Well, it is part of the issue, I think, with the independents and with like the Lumleys and stuff. For instance, my fiance's parents, they used to go to the movies every single week, like with their friends, and they went to the Arclight. And since the pandemic, they haven't gone. Older audiences with nothing against young people, but slightly more sophisticated cinema tastes are not going as much. So it's like that's another problem with the
especially with the like the Lamley in Glendale, they've kind of it's like 5 theaters, but they're very small. I mean, it's like basically like a very small screen, and they're just not getting anybody. It might be where it doesn't make sense to knock them all down and have one big theater and just try to appeal to just the big experience versus the smaller experience. But
even in the inverse, like the Alamo Drafthouse model, where you have like it's a it's an event. Like you go and you're having dinner and you're having drinks and you're watching this movie. I like that too, because that makes it more of a special event, but you go knowing it's going to be more that atmosphere versus the theater where everyone's supposed to be really quiet. You know, you can go and enjoy a film like that. So I like the idea of it becoming a multi-purpose kind of event versus just the movie. Like that's why I like the art. Like you go out and have dinner afterwards or have drinks. So you can have the 21 plus screens, which are great, no kids. And you go in and have, you know, but technically sometimes drunk people who couldn't control themselves. But you know, I like that kind of special event feel to it. That's why I just couldn't go to just these theaters like the Lemleys, because you can have the special experience at a big theater like that. So like the
they did that with Licorice Pizza. They had that arcade, you know, right next to it. The New Beverly has a really great pre-show. They always do with like, you know, old, you know, Walt Disney cartoons, all kinds of things. Old fun vintage trailers.
That's cool.
My friend Craig, he runs a secret movie club downtown. He has a couple locations. He did a Fossbender Wednesdays with a beer garden. Everyone's
nice.
That's really cool. See, that's amazing.
That's probably the future, honestly, of the of independent cinema and revival cinema is probably that format, and I think that will remain for sure, along with 35 millimeter exhibition, which I'm all for. You know, I make DC like really good looking DCPs for a living. Like I'm all about digital restorations and stuff, but I also want to make sure that 35 millimeter is still presented, you know, in the country. It can be. There's 400 theaters. I think they're still presenting it around the country. So,
that's cool. I didn't know that. So many. That's great.
Yeah. There's 800 internationally. Maybe like I counted them. There's like 351 or something.
I always had this dream where I wanted to own a movie theater because it just seemed like I want to be in theaters. I could live in a movie theater. I'm fine with that. I always had that dream of like the little, you know, the town with the little cool theater. And now I feel like knowing now what I know about movie theaters and the chains and all that, you just can't survive doing that. I mean, unless it's a little tiny, you know, retro house. But even then, I feel like, how do you survive? But I still have that dream. I still want to do that somewhere deep in my brain. I still want to own a movie theater.
Yeah, I do too.
Jeff does too. We know that.
Hey, we should all pitch in. Let's buy a movie theater. Hey, is the silent movie theater still available?
Well, that's being run right now. I've not been there. It's like Brain Dead Studios. That's a really
So is it doing movies or just?
Yes, they're showing 35 millimeter prints of classic films all the time there. I have not yet been there since the pandemic, but
that's interesting. Well, I got married there when it was the silent movie theater.
Did you really?
I got married at the silent movie theater.
Yes, I remember
that. We did a silent
I made a
movie.
film that was screened in that theater.
We did like a Nosferatu type movie with me and Chad and a bunch of our friends that were going to be at the wedding, and then we showed that at the silent movie theater. So we kind of did our own little movie with Buster Keaton films. So I felt like this was like a dream come true. It was like, oh my God. So I've always wanted to buy that theater.
You got married there, and then you played what, Nosferatu or Buster Keaton? Or both?
We played Buster Keaton, but we did our own film that Burke did that was sort of based on Nosferatu, where we acted in it. We were in a silent film.
Did you have an organist up there doing like
we had an actual pianist up there. Yeah. And he was up there and he played the music during our wedding, and then he played the music during our movie. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Oh my God. Burke did such a great job.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. I'll give you the link.
Yes. You should watch it.
Wedding of the Vampire. And that was our invitation to the wedding too. I mean, that's just my whole persona is steeped in films. That's just what I do.
It has a twist ending.
There's a twist. And it's funny. It was so cute because somebody I worked with, their kids saw the film because they went to the wedding, and then they were obsessed with the film, and I put it up on YouTube and they watch it over and over. And then I met them at a company party, and they were looking at me like I was the biggest star. They were like, "Oh God, it's that woman from Vampire." It was so cute. It was adorable.
That's funny.
It was really fun. So I mean that is how much movies. Like I moved here to do movie posters. I've been obsessed with film. Like this is my life. I do a podcast about movies. Theaters is like this is so important to me. This whole topic. It's so big deal.
I made a movie for my wedding too, and we had a party here. We had several weddings. Right. We had one wedding here in LA and one in another country, but the one here in LA was in a photo studio, and we showed a film that I made with my wife and me, and a bunch of movie trailers and stuff. So it's always
that all of us were in
part of our life.
film centric people, all of us.
Yeah.
Which is great.
We do.
So
we got to figure out how to buy that theater, you guys.
I know, Jeff, weren't you interested in
yes,
that one in South Pass?
Yes, the Rialto.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes, so it's run right now by a church group called
Yeah.
Mosaic,
Mm.
and
I
so
love that building. It's beautiful. The
I
front.
know. I used to go to the movies there, and I called Mosaic. I ended up calling the guys who own the theater, the Shomoff Development Group,
Oh.
and they buy up a lot of real estate and renovate a lot of buildings all over the city. And I guess Mosaic has a long lease there, unfortunately.
Oh.
So,
And Quentin Tarantino bought
the Vista.
The
Yeah.
Vista.
So at least he just needs rich celebrities to buy up all the movie theaters, and then we can all pitch in our money.
God bless Tarantino for doing that. I mean, he was so dedicated. I mean, he saved the two. Sherman Torgan, ran that theater for 20 years, and he had a heart attack. 30 years.
The Beverly,
yeah.
And then Quentin bought it. He said, as long as he's wealthy and alive, New Beverly will continue showing 35 millimeter, and he's doing the same stuff. The Vista is going to be primarily for new films on 35, I believe, which will be great. So that'll be an event thing. I'm sure that will do well. The New Beverly does well. A lot of those. Okay.
Have you been to the Legion?
What? No,
I really want to do that. They're only showing film.
Yes. I went to
drive-in.
Yeah, for was that the Legion? The one in Highland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I went there for a Turner Classic Movie Festival presentation.
I really want to check that place out.
Been there since the pandemic.
Yeah, same.
And the thing is, big cities like LA and New York have the opportunity, but even smaller cities still have that old theater downtown. You go to, it's like it's there, and a lot of them are still showing films. It's the only game in town. Yeah. So I think about that. I think cinema is here to stay, but I agree that it's going to have to be. It's going to change. Once the pandemic.
It's going to change.
It
is here to stay.
And I think people want to get out. Like people are like, well, people go to movie theaters anymore. I think they will because we're so tired of being cooped up that we want to go out and see movies. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that massive screen and great sound? I mean, I just miss my popcorn. Movie theater popcorn.
The little town that I grew up in used to have these great theaters when I was a kid. It's like talking, the olden days, but. Big theaters, movie theaters that had balconies and stuff, and interior decor and whatnot, and a lobby, and you go into the lobby and the posters were framed along the wall, and the popcorn stand and the candy and stuff, and then you go in the big swinging doors that take you into this massive theater, and that the town, even though the town has gotten bigger and bigger, those theaters closed down, and now the only theaters in that town are these grubby little mall sliced up tiny screening room theaters that stink, and it's just a little you go in and it's like a little back room screening room with a dirty screen, like bubble gum all over the screen and stuff. And it's just, the last time I was there, last time I saw a movie there, it was just like, nah, this isn't.
You're making like you're up on the Last Picture Show, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe it'll go back to those big downtown theaters, because that would be kind of instead of these multiplexes will only survive if it's Marvel and Pixar, any kind of huge budget film. That's just not nobody's going to go see a art film at the local AMC. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's some beautiful theaters in downtown Los Angeles, some really, there's places that are still, you could still make that into a theater. Some of them have turned into Apple stores and whatnot, but there's still some beautiful ones.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a Warren
uses the $1 Million Theater downtown. Yeah, an old palace. Yeah, every Saturday he shows movies there. 35 millimeter.
Well, before we kind of sign off, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you what some of your favorite films of 2021 were.
Yes.
I know you probably didn't see as many as you would like, but do you have like 3 or 4 that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, I talked about a few of them. I mean, I love Licorice Pizza. I really enjoyed. I thought the Spider-Man movie was great, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I like The Green Knight quite a bit. I saw that at the AMC.
I still gotta see that.
Yeah, that's I saw that the AMC Burbank is actually shockingly a pretty good digital presentation of movies. The sound's good, the picture's good, their presentation. I mean, I'm not saying it's quite like the Arclight experience because it's not quite the same sophisticated clientele. And there's no cool gift shop inside or anything, but for a good digital presentation of current movies, it's pretty good. And I've been going there a lot to see stuff. And there's a little bit of a riding the escalator up to the.
yeah. I've been there once or twice.
So I like that. Licorice Pizza, The Green Knight. Wait, hold on. I write down everything I've seen.
That's really smart.
I do the same thing.
I need to do that.
I just saw West Side Story, which I enjoyed. There's a lot of films I want to see. What's that? The Drive My Car movie. I want to see that. I want to see The Worst Person in the World. I did see The Power of the Dog. I know you guys did I listened to your whole show about it. I wasn't enamored with it, but I was fascinated by your analysis of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
But maybe I would liked it more if I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, that's true. My mom just watched it. She didn't get it at all. She missed the whole. Yeah, she didn't get the twist. She didn't see the dog shadow on the mountain. She was just not.
Yeah, I didn't see the dog shadow on the mountain.
She didn't understand the whole Bronco Henry subplot. She's totally missed it. I'm like,
I think she didn't want to understand the Bronco Henry subplot.
You really need to understand Bronco Henry to understand this movie.
Well, it's interesting how we all have different perceptions. Like I wasn't a Licorice Pizza fan. Jeff and I have talked about this before. I didn't like it that much, but I think I'm in the minority in that. But that's why we go to movies.
Absolutely. And having that debate afterwards is always really fun.
Yeah,
I love that. Because we all I respect everyone here, their opinion about movies. And so I think it's really fascinating when also we disagree on a movie. I'm always kind of like taken aback, like, really? Well, I want to know why. It's like so interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
That's true, though. I guess what it is, when we're really connected to a film, it almost feels like something that's special in your soul is being insulted by someone else.
Well, that's true. You take a personal offense
or something. Like, I thought it was funny. I thought that was moving. You're making fun of my tears, man.
Yeah,
that really hit me, man.
I've had that experience where you show somebody your favorite movie, and afterwards they're like, "Well, that's 2 hours I'll never get back."
Oh, it sucks.
I hate that.
It's awful. It's an awful feeling. You really feel hurt. I feel
like I really liked Dune. I thought Dune was so beautiful. And when I saw that film, that was when I was like, God damn it, I wish I'd seen this in the theater. Like, I was really frustrated how gorgeous it was. Like, I should have seen that in the theater.
I saw Dune with my daughter and Mark's daughter, actually, at the Alhambra Theater.
You saw in the theater.
But I was not happy with me. Us three were the only people in the theater.
Wow. That's perfect.
On Mark, remember we dropped off Alan. It was like a Monday afternoon or something.
Right. Yeah.
But I was not happy with the digital presentation at that theater. Because there's so many bright desert vistas in the sky. I could see all the pixelation of the.
Oh no!
That would not happen at the AMC Burbank.
Yeah, right. Or the Arclight.
But it's actually shockingly a good theater. But I did like Dune. I feel like I don't understand Dune. I've never read the book.
No, I don't get it either. It just washed over me.
I never saw the David Lynch movie. I did see the documentary about Jodorowsky trying to make Dune.
Right.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm a Dune guy, but I appreciate that. I think it was probably a great version of what I know people love about Dune.
Yeah,
and
it was. But I've read the book several times, the first one and the other ones. I've read the other ones once, but I've read the first one maybe 4 times in my life because I love it. And it did get the book in a way, but it still doesn't quite go. It doesn't do everything that the book does.
Well, you can't do an 800-page book in a 2-hour. But
and it was only half of it.
Movie.
Yeah,
it was half a movie.
Yeah.
But it got close. It got. I love the David Lynch one, but the David Lynch one is not. To me, it's not really Dune.
It's not good. And I love David Lynch. I love David. So, you said you saw Last Night in Soho.
Yes.
That's a movie where I feel like I'm a little in the minority of not really liking it. And I was really disappointed.
I'm kind of with you, actually.
Okay.
I liked the first half of it quite a bit.
Exactly.
And I thought the horror element didn't work, and it got really silly.
It got silly. Well, I feel like the whole movie, it put the emphasis on the most boring part of the story, which was the stupid fashion student in the modern day, when the only interesting thing was really the 60s and that whole storyline. Yeah. And I feel like even when the twist came, I'm like, why didn't I see that movie? Why am I seeing this other dumb movie? So I feel like half the movie was bad and half of it was good.
I got tired of all the special effect ghosty guys in suits chasing them around constantly. It just like it was like
you did not need it. Just give us that 60s movie. It was gorgeous and great, and all the actors were so good that when you went to modern day, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I think she's really great. The girl who was I forget her name, but
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Oh, her, but the other girl, the one that was in oh my god, the movie from 2 years ago is up for Oscars.
Tomlinson McKenzie.
Yes, her. And she was in the film with Scarlett Johansson, the World War II Hitler movie, where the funny Hitler movie.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that now either. The Taika Waititi film.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I thought, unfortunately, I thought she was bogged down by all her dumb decisions and every stupid thing she did, and she was super whiny, and it drove me crazy.
Yeah. Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
That's it. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Did you see Riders of Justice?
No, but Mark has been a champion of that film.
Yeah, he championed it to us, and we watched it, and we're blown away by that one. That's a good one. Was that 2021?
Yeah, 2021.
It's a great one.
Wait, hold on. I want to ask you guys if you've seen these films. So, because these are the 2021 films I still have to watch. I have a huge list here on my phone. You can't see it. It's all bright, but hold on. Need to get to the 2021 part. Oh, I saw Benedetta, the Paul Verhoeven movie.
Oh, yeah.
Lizzie, dead silence.
Lizzie didn't like that one. Yeah.
No, I liked it more than she did. It was kind of like a Ken Russell, The Doubles kind of movie, but very Paul Verhoeven, lots of lesbian sex and sacrilegious stuff. It was entertaining. I liked it.
Entertaining.
I saw Pig, which I know Mark watched. Did you guys all see Pig?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to like it more than I did. I thought
Me too.
Was good. I thought
it
the
was
fight
sad.
It was okay. I would like it better if the pig had survived.
Same. I thought the pig not living was kind of shitty. I don't know.
Shitty. It was just a mean-spirited thing to do.
It just wasn't cool. And also, I was bothered by the fact that Nick Cage, who looked like shit through the whole thing, not only because he lived in a cabin and hadn't bathed in a year, he was beat up and bloody, and he was walking around and eating in these gourmet restaurants, and no one says anything. He looks like hell. Like, he looks like a homeless guy in your restaurant.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, that was a little weird. But
I liked it.
I thought he was great, but I just, like you said, I thought the pig not living just seemed like
unnecessary. If I had lived, I would have given it. Oh yeah. Spoilers. Sorry, everybody. Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Come on, I want to see. I hear Come On's really good. Have you seen that?
No,
I'd like to see that too. That's with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
Yes. I've heard good things about that.
Well, Jeff, we have to have you on we talk more about movies because there's.
No, we should have a best of 2021 with Jeff because that would be fun to we all pick our top 5 and then have another. We had a live one, but we had a live. We had a live one. We just picked a couple movies, but there are a lot more out there that we've seen that we could discuss.
The Tragedy of Macbeth. I'm gonna go see that film.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. The Coen, Joe Coen.
Oh, with
yeah. I've heard that's really good.
Yeah,
it looks good.
Yeah.
It's on Apple TV, I think.
So we'll definitely have you on more often than just our year-end and Oscar episodes.
Oh yeah, sure. No, it's always fun. Yeah, sure.
And it's fun.
Do you have any Oscar prediction, real quick?
Power of the Dog probably win.
Power of the Dog should win. Benedict Cumberbatch.
I mean, I didn't love it, but I think it's going to win. Power of the Dog. Yeah, and I think Jane Campion's going to win.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
I love her. But yeah, it's not a pleasant film.
Yeah, no, it's a bit on the grim side,
It is a dismal spiral into despair.
Yeah, exactly.
So enjoy it. Get the popcorn out.
Had a happy ending, sort of.
Jeff. Jeff
Thank
McCarty's
so
been
much.
our guest, and thanks for hanging out. And we really appreciate your insight. And the film preservation stuff is always fascinating to me because it's like you're doing something very important. And it's
keep doing it.
I know. I'm so glad.
It's a fun podcast. It's just great. You guys are spreading the love of cinema all around the world.
We love it.
Great thing.
Thanks, man. We'll have you on soon. Okay, so hang around after we say goodbye. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sure, we'll do. All right.
Take care. Bye.
Billy's like got